Anyways, today, how's it been? Here, now I'm gonna have to adjust it because I'm lame and I got too carried away. Okay, so how has it been? How has life been? Guys, we are like storming towards the summer in a crazy kind of way. Like it is galloping towards us. I hope you guys are well. Today we were going to do something on fathers, and then we were like, do we want to do that? And somebody, I think it was Lauren. Hi, Lauren. Sent in a question just about holiday clubs and how we can integrate Chat and Catch with holiday clubs and work with parents and stuff. And I thought, that's a really good topic. So rather than do fathers, we'll do that next year. Today, we wanted to look at sort of big events and whether we're running one event, whether we're running a holiday club, whether it's doing something new, whether it's outreachy, whether it's something for your church, whatever it is, there's an opportunity there to integrate parenting for faith values and to lead a team and grow parents. And so we're just going to sort of talk about that today. And as I was writing notes for this, there's a lot of information. There's a lot more than I thought I had to say about it. So this may be a bit long. So feel free to go away, come back, snack, eat your lunch, take a nap, whatever. It'll be here but because I love you, and because you know how sometimes you just get carried away with stuff, I have visual aids today. Oh, I know. And you're like, wait a minute, Rachel, you're normally a very lazy children's pastor. And I am, but I also am a night owl, which means sometimes I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll invent a creative project that requires me to stay up late watching Elementary and doing things. And so that was last night. So brace yourselves for something exciting. Not really. So let's jump in. I hope you're well. Do we have people commenting? How are you? I haven't seen your comments because I was talking and moving around. Oh, it's just all things. Hey, Lauren. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so it's just you and me, babe. Here we go. Right. So when you are a leader of something, it can feel like you are in charge of the whole world, and it can feel like this dynamic is happening. Here's you. You are the leader, and you are all powerful and all in charge. And for those of you who don't know, that's Voltron, who is my favorite cartoon character from the 80s and 90s. And there's a reboot on Netflix if you don't know. And if you don't know, you should know, because Voltron is awesome and he's the most powerful ever. And he's made up of 5 robot lions. And I'm the black one. Anyways, so you have Voltron. This is you. You are the leader of everything. And when we're leading an event, the dynamic sort of feels like you and the kids. That's kids. There's 1,000 different emotions. And so there are lots of little faces and emotions. And so when we're planning things, it becomes about what do we want for the kids. And so a lot of our time and prayer and effort is spent doing this. What do I feel? I mean, obviously there's God over that. Let's not take out God. But we have the sort of, what do I want the kids to have? What do I feel? So we have all this curriculum planning. We have all of this, what is God saying? We have all of this sort of back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it becomes about how can we achieve this? So anything else like parents and team just become mechanisms for getting whatever we want for the kids to the kids. And as children's pastors, that is like our heart. That's why we exist. We want it for the kids. But I find if we think like that, then what happens is, 1, we get exhausted because it's all about that. 2, we begin to treat team and parents, we begin to use them in a way because they are tools for us to get to the children. And in some ways that puts us in a heart position of trying to, manipulate's a bad word, but to get them to be and do what we want them to be and do so that the kids can get what they want. And I find it puts me in a position of less influence because my heart is in the wrong place, and therefore I get more frustrated. So I would suggest the first thing that we look at is create a vision for all areas, not just for the kids. So when we begin planning, rather than going, Right. What's our vision for the kids? What do we feel God's going to do for the kids? And then go, how can we get leaders on board? How can we get parents on board? Rather than thinking like that, I would suggest that you take your team, or if you do it on your own as Voltron. Technically, Voltron is a team of 5. They all make up Voltron. Like the Trinity, except it's never mind, too deep. So rather than it just be between you and the kids and thinking what's right for the kids, and then pulling everyone else on board, actually sit down with your team and go, what is our vision for everybody who's going to be impacted for Holiday Club? What is our vision for everybody to move forward in? Our team, our kids, our parents. What is God saying to the whole? Because then you're integrating a strategy for everybody rather than a strategy just for the kids that you're trying to get people on board. Does that make sense? So 1, create a vision for all. And that fundamentally sort of changes what we're doing, because then you're not just thinking about this, you're thinking about everything, which means we need to bring on board our other characters. Rachel, did you print these out, cut them out, and hand color them? Yes, I did. So here are our parents, who we also need to have a vision for. I'm going to have them holding hands. Or, no, I'll have them separate, just in case that they're a blended family. Oh, a family with... Okay. Those are our parents. She's had a bit too much tanning going on. So these are our parents that are part of our thing. And then we also have our teams that we have to integrate. And I'm a Star Trek fan, so this is the original Star Trek crew. So this is our team over here. And so what we're going to talk about today is sort of how we can create a vision and implementation that means that we move everybody forward at the same time. So the first thing we're going to look at is the team. So 1, have a vision for all. Have a vision for your parents, have a vision for your kids, have a vision for your team. The second thing we're going to do is create structures to support the team. Structures to support team. And any event and Holiday Club I find really difficult, because they're a temporary team that haven't necessarily been with you. You sometimes don't know them. They have a wide range of lack of skill. I mean, sometimes you get lucky and you get like the most skilled team ever, but usually you're like, wow, we have a lot of interesting weaknesses that seem to all be coalescing into this vortex of, wow, I don't really know what I have. They're incredibly strong, but not necessarily in the areas that you want them to be in. And so it can feel like you're trying to manage so much newness. And so you're thinking, how can I give them all the things I need them to do to make this safe, to make sure nobody gets lost? And we can begin to sort of lose the vision of it. And so for me, if we're going to support team, I just want to talk about this team thing for a little bit, is when we're trying to equip team, whether they're super experienced and you've lucked out and your entire children's ministry team joins, and everybody else who, are teachers and everything, or whether they're brand new, if we're going to support and equip the team to do all of this vision stuff that we have been chewing away, feeling like God's going to release fear and bring salvations and all of this stuff, if we're going to get our team to do their bit in participating in this, then we've got to think, okay, how is God going to impact and use them? So sometimes it's saying, okay, I feel like the kids are going to move forward in fear, and there's something about releasing a sense of lack of purpose within the team. And you may have a different spiritual angle for that, or sometimes it's just that's the vision for everybody. Everybody needs to be released from fear. And so just having that in your mind of as you pray for them, as you do your training events, just to know that may be something to be aware of. But the first step for me in equipping them to do this is to give them why, what, and how. Because I find in my experience, when I'm dealing with a lot of team and they don't show up for a lot of training, and you're thinking, well, I only get them for 45 minutes once, we want to rush into things like the registration and child protection and all of the stuff that we actually need to get through, which is totally fair enough. But we leave out the why, and for me, the why is essential, because if we don't have a team who is fully on board with not just the vision for what we're doing with the kids, but why they exist, what is their role and what is unique to what they have volunteered for, then they are desperately trying to just do everything you told them to do rather than be who God has asked them to be in that situation. So I would suggest one of the first things we start off is casting a vision of the why. So why are you here? You are here as small group leaders, if they're small group leaders, because we believe that everything that happens within the kingdom is in relationship. And everybody needs someone to walk alongside them. And so you don't need to be perfect. And all of those values that we have, and It Takes a Church to Raise a Parent, that there's a whole chapter on core truths. And there's a lot of those truths that apply for team leaders. Like, you're in their lives. We need you to create windows into your lives. We need you to be you in their life, loving them and seeing them and cheering them on, because that's what makes them feel safe. You make them feel safe. You make them feel loved. You are the bit of God that says you are welcome in this place. And so everything that we want to equip you to do is really to achieve that, to be the part of God that says you belong here and you are seen and loved and known. And that's what we want you to do. So find your why. If it's upfront, people, it's so that you exist, so that God can speak clearly to these kids, getting through all of the kerfuffle and all of the extra words, and you exist so that the clarity of God can speak. And whatever it is, giving them a solid why means that they show up and are invested in the why, not just in the I'm here to volunteer because I'm willing to do it and I have nothing else to do for half term, or I really like kids. And so giving them a why that's beyond the small lets them know that. The what is really important. They do need like specific things, and that's when we explain to them. So therefore your job is this. And I find it really helpful to tell them almost equally what it is not as what it is. Because at the beginning I would do like job descriptions and volunteer things. If your job is to register the kids, take them from group to group, and make sure they get home safely. But that doesn't tell them what it's not. And so they need to know it's not to be responsible for all discipline in your group. It's not to be the prime prayer ministry person, because that can be overwhelming. It's not to, bear the pastoral burdens on your own. And so sometimes the nots are really helpful, because they need to know what's their remit and safely what it doesn't have to be, because often they can take on a massive burden above that. And then the how. And the how is beyond the tick boxes and the practical stuff. The how obviously needs to do that. We all need to submit ourselves to a half hour of how to register your kids and hand the ticket so they can get out of the venue. That's obvious. But there's more hows to that. And some of the hows are in how do they achieve the why, not necessarily only the what. The why is the vision, and you're here to make them feel loved and belonged and powerful and connected to God, and you're here to do all of this. And then we tell them your job is to move them from place to place, and we only equip them to move them place to place. We only equip them for what their job is. And I find that equipping them for the why is just as important as for the what. Because a lot of people don't know how to make kids feel welcome. Shockingly, a lot of kids don't know how to start a conversation with 10-year-olds. That is not a normal skill. And so while they may be really comfortable with children, sometimes they're like, I don't really know how to handle registering people and then other people having questions. And so then I say, did you have a good week at school last week? And then they're out. They got nothing after that. And so whether it's giving them questions to ask, or whether it's teaching them, these are the 5 things that kids are really into right now. So feel free to ask about any of this stuff is really useful. Sometimes they need to know how to have a conversation, how to lead a conversation with kids. So the little practical things, like for me, if you want to have a good conversation with a bunch of kids, get them all to lie on their stomachs, because then everyone's faces are in the middle, their wiggly feet can be wiggly on the outside, and you have this little protected sound space. And so many times you give them that 20-second how, and you see their small groups transform because it enables the why. So figure out for your leaders what the hows is that they need to know for the whys and the whats. And therefore, you really got to know what they're tasked with and what they're not tasked with. So we were talking about Chat and Catch and things like that. So when you're talking about Holy Spirit ministry, when you're talking about enabling them to connect with God one-to-one, sometimes we can expect our small group leaders to have to do everything. And when you look at your team, if you think this group is not 100% up on this stuff, we can then feel like we need to 100% equip them to do that. And it could be that what we need to do is create ways for them to engage with without them being responsible for it. And so once we have that bit, then we can ask ourselves more questions. I have a whole list of questions that I like to ask. So if they know what their what is, my question is, what's my what then? So if I tend to try to remove discipline as much as possible from small group leaders, because it's hard. So sometimes I will go, you know what? I can either do a lot of training on discipline, or I can give you the hows of how to help kids stay engaged. And I will assign 2 people to the back whose job it is to wander around and be like, hey, you, come here, and to do the discipline, because sometimes it's just really hard to be the person who's responsible constantly for that. Or we're going to do ministry from the front, and so therefore your job is to make them feel safe and to protect them, to enable them to connect with God on their own while I'm leading them from the front. Or it could be that we're going to do prayer ministry at the back in a shack, and so therefore what your job is to do is to see what God is doing in them and encourage them to just take some space to spend time with God now. Or if they want to do some more chatting and catching without moving on, then feel free to go to the shack at the back. And so your job is to create a safe space and to signpost for them where their opportunities are, where their yeses are. And my job as a leader, as a structure, will be to give them those next steps, whether it's in discipline or whether it's in ministry. So however you do it, you can have totally different lines, but it's really helpful to think through that, so that what we're giving them is not everything they need to do, but it can be what they find possible, what I can equip them to do well, and then therefore the structure supports them in us all headed towards a vision. Does that make sense? So therefore, how we equip this how can be done in loads of different ways. And sometimes we feel like we've got to just add a training day or get them earlier to do something specific. And actually you have 1,000 million different ways of doing it. So I'm really passionate about everybody learning Chat and Catch. If you don't know what Chat and Catch is, it's a way of helping kids have an individual 2-way connection with God. It's a way of conversational prayer that doesn't put leaders and adults in the middle of it. And therefore, I want to train everybody in it. I want absolutely everybody who's moving, to know and understand how to do it. And for a long time, I try to equip everybody ahead of time. And if you have a team who are very happy to show up early, then great, feel free. But now I sort of begin to think, what do they absolutely need to know ahead of time? And what can they learn side by side with the kids? And so sometimes what I can talk about is say, we're doing a thing called Chat and Catch. Here's a video online. You can use the Parenting for Faith course. It's free on the website. There's like a short 2-minute video, and then there's a whole session of the course for Chat and Catch. And you can send them the links and say, this is what we're going to do. But you don't need to worry about it if that's not something you want to worry about. It's not required. It's just letting you know. But what you really need to know is how to not be the high priest. That's really the how behind the Chat and Catch. Is if I can train my team to say, kids, can have a relationship with God, can have a free-flowing relationship with God, and it doesn't need us. What it needs us to do is to guard them and to encourage them to not bail from it and to not ask an adult to do it, but to say, you can do this and you and God can chat together and it's okay, I'll create some space for you to do that. It's us moving out of the middle. If that's really the how, because then when I talk about chat and catch, I'm not worried about my small group leaders jumping in and interfering. Does that make sense? And so then my small group leaders can learn as we go along. As I teach chat from the front, as I teach catch from the front, I can then equip them as we go. And I can say, so we're just going to catch from God. Leaders, I'd like you to do this too. And then as we chat, well, just listen to each other. We don't need to judge it. We don't need to say, yes, I think that's God, and no, I think it's from God. We can all just nod at each other and say, oh, that's really interesting of how you had an encounter with God. So we can do that. Or if you want to teach them discernment, whatever you feel is important for them to be equipped for. You don't have to equip them with everything you're going to do. You just need to equip them to do their bit of what's going to happen. Yes, I think. Right. What am I doing? What do I need to keep with me? Yep, chat and catch discipline. Enable. Oh, the other thing is enabling their voice. I think here, I'm going to do a little voice thing. So I can drip feed to them stuff. I can drip feed to them in the middle. I can drip feed to them while it's happening. I can drip feed to them before it's happening. I've done one midweek stuff. It was a summer conference where I just gave them one 30-second tip every day, tool every day. I didn't need to do it ahead of time. I just scheduled, we have 10 sessions. And so every session, I'm going to give them a 30-second tip on the house. So you can drip feed it from the front. You can drip feed it before and after. You can drip feed it the month before, however you want to do it. But enabling their voices in the middle of what's happening, I think is really important, because while we're busy Voltroning to the kids, we're like, I know what's going on. I have my eyes on the prize. I'm working everything out. I am on it. And as we do that, we are laser locked, and we have our team that are laser locked. But actually, these are the people who are sitting with the kids. And I find that the more I listen to them, the more I say, it looks like it's going great from the front, but you're the one who's sitting on the floor with the kids. What questions are they asking? What are we doing that actually we need to move faster on? What are we doing that the kids are really enjoying and we just skip over? Teach me what the experience of being on the ground is with the kids. And I find that really helpful. I lead so much better when I enable them to say, you think that game is funny, and the kids hate it. Or you're doing stuff in the front and the kids are just lost, and to enable that back and forth and to get suggestions is so helpful, because sometimes they will voice things that the kids don't get in a way that I can't quite tell from the front. It's vital. And the last thing I wanted to say about this was I try to provide next steps for people who are keen, because you may have 20 leaders with you doing whether they're the front, they're the band, whether they're your small group leaders, and some of them are going to be uber keen or come in not very keen at all, and then all of a sudden are like, I really like this stuff. And so one of the things that I have found really helpful is to create midweek next step training. So when we start doing chat and catch and people are like, that's really interesting, I have issues with that, or that's really interesting, I love this, then I can say, hey, we're on day 3 of a 4-day holiday club. And I know we've been doing chat and catch, and there may be, you may want to take this home with you. You may want to just explore this more. And so I just want to let you know, before the next session, we're going to put on a special breakfast. And if anybody wants to explore chat and catch more and get, properly trained in it and ask questions and try more out for yourself, then we'll be doing that. Or going, we have a couple of additional needs kids, and I've noticed some of you have a really good connection with them. And so I just thought, you know what, some of us might want to learn a bit more about how children with additional needs connect with God. And so I've invited my friend in. She's an additional needs teacher at a special school, and she has some great wisdom on this. And so we're going to be putting on, an evening meal that we're all just going to go out, y'all pay for yourself, or come to my house, drinks and cake, and we're just going to do this one thing. If you have a next step and you're interested in this, come along. And you may only get 3 or 4, but 3 or 4 people going, I want to learn more about kids ministry. I want to learn more and be equipped in this for myself and others is massive. And enabling them a next step within your program means that you get more skilled team, but it also means you are laying a foundation for your next round, if that makes sense. So that's team. Do you have any questions on team and how to equip them in that? I'm going to switch colors while you're pondering. No, okay. Okay. So, right. So parents, I need to flippity my page. Okay. Show. Structure. Oops. Okay, structures to support and empower parents. So we have this thing, we're drip feeding into team. They're talking back to us. They're having great and wonderful times with their kids because we've paved the way for them to have, they know their why. They have the hows going on. They are equipped. They're getting their next steps for going forward. They are ready to go. And then we have these parents over here. They are just really happy you're taking their children for a chunk of time. And some of them are like, I love the Lord and I want you to teach my children all about Jesus. Have the best encounter time of your life, children. And other times they're like, yay, I don't have to have my kids. And then other times they're like, I have 4 more children and you're not taking those. So this makes no difference to me. I'm just going to kick them out of the car and continue on. And some of them are Christians, some of them are not Christians, some of them are together. Sometimes you only see one at a time. Sometimes grandma comes in. Oh, I should have done grandma. Comes in to drop them off, pick them up. Sometimes it's nannies. And so you have this whole factor of what do we do with them. And it can be really hard. And so one of the ways that we can have a vision for them is remember in your initial prayer and in your initial setting is what is your vision for parents? Not just for what they do, but spiritually what they're going to get out of it. And I find that's a really bold thing to have because the team has to talk to us and the kids have to talk to us. The parents don't. And so for us to say, actually, I firmly believe that God has something for parents this week. And it is my job and my team's job to connect with them and to take them on a journey as much as they want to go on because God has stuff for them too. Means that it requires something of us and it's quite exciting. So the first question to sort of ask yourself is whose face is towards the parents? Because I think what happens sometimes, can you see that? Yes, you can. Whose face is towards the parents? Because I think sometimes we assume that it has to be us and we assume it has to be our team. So we're busy drawing all of these lines going, okay, fine. So it's going to be, right, so we're adding parents, so that's going to take more of my time. I'm going to have to be out there welcoming people and talking to them. And my team, they're with the kids, but then we're also going to have to get them out and over here, and we have to get them talking to the parents. So therefore, we should have drop-off inside the building so we can get them to walk all the way in the building and meet individually with the team while the team's trying to make them feel belonged and helping them connect with God and surf the waves. And so we end up adding parents to the structures that we already have. And that can be really stressful and usually not very successful because I don't know about you, but I ain't got a lot more capacity while I'm, being Voltron and running everything. And my team are trying to keep track of 1,000 million people and they don't have time for it. And so one of the things to ask is whose face is going to be primarily for the parents? Because my face is primarily for the kids and for the team. Whose face is for the parents? And so it may be that here. I didn't have somebody for this, so I'm just going to grab something off my desk because we all have things on our desk. So who's going to do that? Now, sometimes, if you can, I love doing this, is to get somebody who not hates children, but is not a children person, but is an adult person. Grab a curate. Grab somebody who's in charge of pastoral care for the church. Grab somebody who's just a really nice person. Grab a bunch of old people who are free during the day and who are like, I could sit and eat cake while I talk to people. Grab whoever you want and assign somebody to have their face just towards the parents, who's responsible for implementing all of the stuff that we're planning with them, because then we're saying we have a vision for whole families. And it doesn't have to be a huge team, but whose face is towards the parents. And so I'm so pleased with me. And so sorry, I just have to take a moment to enjoy myself. Yay! Okay. So pick somebody whose face can be towards the parents. And that is a really significant move for parents, because then, rather than the face of me and my team who are like, oh my gosh, when people are coming in and yes, 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 no, and who's that? We need to shut that down. And did we lose a kid? Did we lose a kid? Hi parents, welcome. I'm so glad that you are here. We're going to have great spiritual stuff with what's going. He's leaving. We're going to have great stuff for you. That doesn't really tell parents we're here, we're for you, we support you. What you need is someone who is just exuding peace by the front door, answering questions, sitting outside. And so pick someone whose face is going to be for the parents and assign that person there. Then ask yourself the question, what am I giving to kids that I need to give to parents? So what am I giving to kids that I need to give to parents? Because parents often feel out of the loop and stupid. And because they're like, they don't know how the teaching of the math is happening. And then evidently they have to dress their kid up for something and they don't know. And we are doing some really significant stuff with their children during a week. We are equipping their children to handle really enormous stuff, and we're giving them really important information. And yet we're leaving parents out of the loop. And so what we end up doing is communicating back to parents, by the way, this is the story we did for today, or this is the theme for the week. And so we pitch them on the theme for the week. We're doing space theme this week. But that isn't what the information they need to know so that they can feel wise and peaceful and able to go along a journey with their kids. That's none of the information. So it's really about what are we giving to the kids? What tools are we giving to the kids? What information are we giving to the kids? What analogies are we giving to the kids that we can then feed back to the parents? Because right now our mechanism is sort of let the kids tell the parents, and that almost never works. And so we're trying to figure out what can the person whose face is to the parents give the parents, so that the parents become someone who drip feeds into the kids. And so you can do this many different ways. I have known people to have a big whiteboard outside that sort of gives information at the beginning of the day that says, today we're going to weave tapestries and play some outside games and talk about when we feel like there is no hope and finding a way forward together with God, and put that up. So the parents are like, well, that's interesting what you're doing today. And then I have known some people to create like this is nothing, this is my prescription, but like a 2-page thing that says on one side, Monday, today, we're doing today we're same thing that you have on the big board, but then it actually gives the equipping of what happened today. So you could say, today we talked about when we feel like there's no hope. We helped the kids know that you can, 1, tell God how you feel. 2, remember that God can turn all things together for good. And 3, ask him to show us what he is doing when we can't see anything good in front of us. And so that all of a sudden parents have the steps that we gave the kids. And I've known many parents who've come back to me and said, that's really, really helpful, because it means that then I can go home and say, oh, when we don't have hope, we can do this. And they know what the kids have done, and they can then use it again. And then on the other side, you can equip them to do it. One of the things on the side that says this is exactly what we did is sometimes you need to summarize the story. You can't just say we did David and Goliath, because you're dealing with parents who have no idea what that story is. And so sometimes you may want to use the NIRV and to just do a little bit of the scripture that says this is the story. Or, if you don't have a Bible, there's a stack of free ones. Feel free to take one. And it's on page this. This is what we did. So that you have this open arms of this is the story we talked about, and this is what we equip the kids to do. And it's super easy. That's all you need to do. There's nothing else you can do at home. This is just what we did. If you want to do it, great. And then on the back, having some sort of ways of connecting in. So sometimes you can have like an ask me. So you might want to ask your kids, how is God like a weaver? Because they all made tapestries. The kids will have an answer to that. So the kids can show them the craft that isn't just craft, because we know we worked super hard on making this okay, and making it all weave together. And so how is God like a weaver? The kids can be like this, because it's like he puts things together and stuff. And then they're into a conversation. You can also have things like, ask me if you could undo one bad thing that happened in your life, what would that be? How would life be different if that didn't happen? What do you think God did? You can suggest all sorts of really interesting open-ended conversation starters so that parents can start conversations if they want. And then you can also say, parents, your stories are so important to your kids. You're the most powerful influence in the spiritual life of your child. And your stories are valuable. So why not tell your kid a story of when you lost hope? And you can suggest those things. There's 1,000 different ways you can do that. I know some people who send out, have voluntary text things. And so they'll text the parents half hour before they pick up, this is what we did, and why not ask your kid this question as you walk home? And they can do that. They do videos for parents, whatever it is, however you like communicating with parents, you can have that. But then you also have your face being able to talk about it. So as parents show up, they can be like, oh yeah, they were doing, lost hope. Have you ever lost hope? I lost hope once. And have these people tell these amazing stories outside and sit and have a chat. So equipping something for them to communicate this way is really, really helpful. You can also create ways of inviting these parents in. So whether it's saying, why not stay? Have a stay and play. My kid just had a stay and play thing at school where they just sort of had one morning where you just stay. And so I've known some children's pastors who create a session where, like for a midweek holiday club, they will put on childcare for under fives on one morning for an hour, just a one-off, so that parents can stay for the first hour of holiday club, and then they pick up their under fives and go. Or if you're at a summer camp, then you have them there. Parents, there's childcare for everybody. Invite them into something significant, because then you're inputting into them side by side, which gives you all of the skills of giving them experience, giving them encounters, all that stuff we talked about in previous times of giving them side by side moments. Something really practical that when we look at this, then you see that there's a sort of big disconnect between leaders and parents, and you're thinking, well, that feels weird because then it's all centralized up here, which is not, because you have this team. But there is something about the connection between a leader and the parents. And I don't think it has to be relational. I don't think it has to be powerful, but I think there's something about enabling these parents to have peace about who is investing in the lives of their kids. And so if we're taking out this sort of constant everyone trying to input into the parents, there are ways of doing this thing. So you can have like meet the leaders sort of after party if you want. But I've known some people who like would drop off, the first day you come in, you shake hands and you meet them, but you never really feel like you get that. Basically, you've just gotten a face of somebody, which doesn't make you feel like you really are connected. And so I've known some people who've done like a board outside that has like Blue 5, and there's 2 smiling faces in a picture of the 2 leaders of Blue 5, and then a little bio of each of them. Blue 5, Johnny is 13 and is passionate about DJing and underwater synchronized swimming. And Johnny volunteered this week because he just loves, playing games and helping kids feel safe. He's a bit of an introvert, and so, particularly likes helping quiet kids feel safe. And Marjorie and so you have this little bio of little things of why they're there and what they're passionate about, what they do in their day job. And sort of, if you have any questions or, have any advice for how to help your kids feel most welcome, feel free to grab Marjorie or Johnny after the session or before the session. And it just means that rather than doing a shake the hand, all of a sudden parents can know their kids are in Blue 5, go look and be like, wow, those are the people who are investing in my kids. That's so cool. And there's an open door for me to go talk to them. And that can be a really useful connection point without having to create more time or shoving more connection between them, if that makes sense. Another way you can make parents feel really connected into what's happening and to enable them to ask good questions from kids is, I learned this from my kids' nursery. My kids' nursery had this big television screen when we all had to wait to get our kids because they always release them late. And what would happen is they'd take photos throughout the day, and then they would just plug it into the screen. And so while you were waiting for like the 10 minutes before the end of the session and the 10 minutes after the session, when you're all just waiting and they're late, is they just had these photos scrolling. So then when you picked up your kid, you could be like, I saw a picture of people playing with mud. What was that about? And it just enabled you as a parent to see what was happening. It felt very transparent, but it also enabled us as parents to ask kids questions because we saw something of their day. And that I found that really helpful, and try to integrate that into things. That was a lot of information. Gosh, that was 42 minutes, guys. What are your questions? Did that itch where you were scratching? No, scratch where you were itching. Do you have any specific questions, worries, concerns? Was that like a total roundabout thing? Anything? If not, I'll pray for you. And I'll go. I hope that was helpful. It's hard. Every scenario is different, but I think when we can begin to equip people to do the whys of what their position is, then we can have a better overview of it, and we can move everybody forward significantly together. So I'm just gonna check, see here if anybody's got any comments whatsoever. Hold on. You know what? I think I probably have my thing on mute. Anna, have you been saying anything? No, she hasn't been saying anything. All right, fine. So I think I'm just going to pray for you, maybe. Oh, Lauren has one. She's saying Lauren has one. Okay, Lauren, hold on. I don't see it. What is it? My kid just came in and said, my kid just came in and asked an interesting safeguarding question about Wonder Woman and whether she should be allowed to show her pants in public. You don't have to answer that. No, I do want to answer that. And I think you're correct. But Wonder Woman is a woman who is a powerful woman, and she can choose how she dresses. And these aren't her pants. Her pants are underneath this. These are her power shorts that enable her to run quickly. Like a marathon runner. So this is her athletic gear, but don't worry, her pants are underneath that, so it's safe. Right, hold on. Let's see. I know you can hear my voice in the background because I'm trying to. Lauren, how would you intro Chat and Catch a room full of kids who will be new to in a way that means we can make full use of it throughout the week? Right, sometimes people wait until a appropriate session. So sometimes feel Chat and Catch is a sort of discipleship feature. So they'd be like, God loves you, and then he died on the cross for your sins. And so it sort of becomes, day 4 of day 5. And I don't think you need to wait for that. I think you can either do a full session on it, but sometimes when kids are new to Chat and Catch, it actually is quite a simple introduction. I find Chat and Catch requires more teaching when you have Christian kids who have been so conditioned in prayer that they need unwinding of those things. So if you have a room full of Christian kids who are used to praying in a specific way, where you have to close your eyes, say to God and amen, and they are Christian, then I would suggest you do some teaching into it. If you have kids who aren't Christians at all, then you're introducing prayer for the first time, which means it can be really quick, I find. And so you can say, welcome everybody, we're here. And throughout this week, we're going to be doing stuff like chatting to God, because he's actually just right here, and you can say anything you want to him in any way you want to do that. So sometimes we're going to be saying, let's chat to God. And that means you can put your bodies however you want. Some people close their eyes, some people don't. It doesn't matter, because all we're doing is letting our hearts chat to God. And I'm going to chat to God right now. God, I love you, and I'm so excited that we're here today. And you just model it from the front. And then when you want to integrate it into, you do your talk, and you want to chat to God about that. So you can stop in the middle of a talk and be like, and then I keep using David and Goliath because it's just easy and we all know it. And then David looking at Goliath, and everyone around him was scared, but David knew something that he didn't know. That he knew something that the other people had forgotten. Have you ever been in a situation where everyone else was afraid? Have you ever been in a situation where you were afraid? Right now, let's just take a moment, and I want you to just chat to God in your head. You can just say words in your head. Can you say your name in your head? In that place, you can chat to God. He can hear it all. Or if you want to hear your voice out loud, whisper. And so I just want you to chat to God right now and tell him one time you were really afraid. Great. So you know what it's like, and then you can move on. So it doesn't have to be in the prayer bits. It can just be weaving in the fact that we can tell God how we feel. Right now we're going to go to groups, and you have 3 options. You can do craft, you can play games, you can do it. So I want you to right now think about what you want to do. I want you to tell God what you're going to do. Okay, now I want you to tell your leader what you're going to do. You can just integrate chat throughout it, so that without needing to do this whole vast teaching on it, you integrate that. And that's the same with catch. Catch, you might want to do like at a specific prayer time, because it's going to take a bit more teaching. But again, with kids who don't know prayer, you're just saying, we chat to God and God chats back like a normal conversation. How weird would it be if we only just talked to someone and they never answered back? And God does. He promises in the Bible that he does. He just talks in so many different ways that we can catch in all these different ways. You can catch with your body. You can catch with your mind, sometimes pictures, and you can just rattle those off. And you can say it's going to take a while to be like, what? In all of the different ways God is communicating to me. Is it communicating now? But we always give an opportunity to tune in. And the more we do it, the more we'll be like, oh, that's how God chats to me. And we just create those opportunities and again, weave it through. So if only for me, if you're doing with Christian kids, you can still do it lightly, but you may need to add in more of the teaching, like we talk about in the books about Jesus and how the disciples talked with him and those kind of things, because they will have so many preconceptions that we almost need to remove the hindrances from them. Where kids who actually don't have a lot of baggage, we don't have to remove those hindrances. Did that answer the question? Right. Anna, my thing isn't going very well, so I'm looking to you for anything. Yes. I don't see any other questions that Anna has told me. So I hope that helped. I'm really excited about it. I want to hear your stories about how it's going and what happened, and any additional wisdom that you have. Please feel free to type it in, because you guys have been running this stuff for years. And so you have probably a lot more wisdom than I have on it. This is just my take on how I would suggest doing it. But can I pray for you? God, I thank you so much that you are a powerful God. And I thank you that you create these amazing opportunities for us to take children that know you already and shoot them forward in what they can know and learn and experience. And God, that we can walk into these communities and we can find children who have never heard of you or only vaguely know you, and then introduce them to the God who loves them and knows them. I thank you for these opportunities. God, I pray supernatural admin. I pray that you would rise out of the ranks of our churches, people who are like, I can't do children, but I love doing admin, to surround us, that you would recruit for us, God, that you would be not letting people sleep until they sign up for team, that you would be rising up people to face the parents, and that you would just set a team for us that is ready. Not that they're the most skilled, not that they're most gifted, but they're the ones who are in it with a heart and a vision. And God, I pray that you give us wisdom to Voltron this thing really well. Give us a vision for all, and give us wisdom that we may know how uniquely in our context we can move our teams forward, we can move our kids forward, and we can equip our parents, that we may see a generation, a community, and a family of God arise. In Jesus' name, amen. One of my church leaders always used to end with joy and stamina to you. And so I pray for joy and stamina for you guys as you go forward and take care. Next month, we're doing something here. Oh yeah, next month we're doing something here. The Forge. Come to the Forge, everybody. We're doing it in November. We go away together and we just spend 3 days equipping each other and sharpening each other and wrestling with ideas together and being loved on and eating a lot of food. Come to the Forge, sign up for it there. And the other thing is we are offering a qualification in Parenting for Faith, which is so exciting. And so in June of next year, there is a 5-day course, short course at Cliff College. We're going to spend 5 days going away together. And if you want to be really equipped in this so that you not only know a bit about Parenting for Faith, but you can walk out going, I know how to equip parents of all different ways. I know how to assess it. I know how to create structures around it. I know how to get my senior leaders on board. I know how to integrate it across the church. If you really want to deep dive into this and be equipped, then get this in your budget for next year, June. At the beginning of June, Cliff College course. I think it'll be £450, but that's including accommodation, that's including food, and that's including a short course where you get a really smiley certificate at the end. So stay tuned for more details for that. And now you may go.